All right, looks like a couple people are in. All right, let's see who we got in the house. Should have got the reminder. We're, we're going to start with an audio check. All right, in terms of quality, how's the audio? Ah, hold on. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let's welcome everybody formally to the live stream. Today is Friday, August 10th, 2018. Let's get an audio check real quick. How is my audio coming into you all? How is the video? Is everything feeding well? Everybody good on the audio and visual side? All right, so who do we have in the house? We've got 6. We have Peter. Welcome, my friend. Good to have you back. Christian, I see you in here as well. Hello to you and welcome back. Familiar faces there. Berkey, hello. Good to have you. Glad you could be here. Thank you for saying hello. Anybody else that's in the chat, go ahead, say your formal hellos. It's rule number 1 to the live stream. You gotta say hello. Obligation. And just so you know, Christian, go ahead. The chicken dinner sounds delicious. Go ahead and chow down. I'm drinking some tea, actually. So we're both enjoying something. Soul J, what up, my friend? Welcome. Glad you could make it. I'd say ahoy is formal, for sure. Sup, bruh? All right, so as the live stream starts to fill up with participants, go ahead and say your hellos when you guys come in. Questions, comments, suggested or recommended topics that you guys have, anything you want to talk about, go ahead. Let's just start throwing them out there. A little late today. Wasn't able to get to the 2 to 4 o'clock window today. I was at work and I wasn't able to get out in time. So I got home, ate a little something, took a shower, and here we are. But even though I am a little bit late, I am here, so maybe not on schedule, but definitely on time. All right, Christian, glad the audio is good. Everybody got the clarity? Good on my end. Yeah, Soul J, welcome to the Patreon, man. Thank you for supporting me on Patreon. I'm really liking the whole Patreon concept. I've been enjoying my time with it so far. I'm looking forward to actually doing more for Patreon. Unfortunately, like my summers are really busy. I'm a school teacher, but my summers actually I get busier. It's kind of weird. So like during the school year, my schedule becomes very stabilized, very predictable. So I'll probably be able to do more with Patreon. I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm excited for it. So glad you could join, Soul J. Welcome, my friend. Oh, snap. Peter's dropping the bomb. Business Insider is saying the Uncarrier should be TV related. Man, I mean, honestly, I think it's just confirmation at this point. Everything seems to point towards the TV side. At this point, from wireless, T-Mobile's not going to be doing much to enhance customer value, so I don't think it would be something wireless, but unless it involves TV to wireless. So whether it's going to be that layer 3 TV that's going to be available to all T-Mobile One customers or T-Mobile One Plus customers or family plans or something, we'll have to see what it is. But I think it's going to be TV related also. All right, so nobody gets spooked as to why I'm looking to the side. So I view the chat on my monitor, and then, obviously the camera's recording in front of me. So that's kind of where I'm viewing the chat and getting all the questions and the comments and all that. But I try to look back when I'm speaking to the camera. You know what, Soulja? I got some good stuff on Patreon. What I try to do is I try to go into some topics that don't necessarily, make it onto the video updates throughout the week on the YouTube channel. So I try to, pick some different stuff. And then what I do is, I kind of get the idea that I want to take topics that are important, at least to me, and I think they're relevant to the patrons. But I want to get in depth, and I want to put some research to it, and I want to put, a thoughtful written script to it and stuff like that. So some of the video updates I do may only take me 10 or 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes tops. Those Patreon research videos that I do, the Layer 3 TV one, the one I did on rural America and 5G and the digital divide, those can take me days sometimes to thoroughly conduct the research, put the formal script together, and, it just takes a little time, and I think the higher quality ones show it. So, I'm looking forward to making more of those, and I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying it. And obviously, as Patreon builds, I'll be able to put more and more effort into it. I'll put more attention to it, motivate me to do more. But I've been liking it so far. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. And for those of you that aren't aware, Sneed Mobile Tech on Patreon. I'll put the link in the description of this live stream when it's all said and done and it's uploaded. It's definitely worth it. And if somebody out there is a patron, go ahead and chime for me. Tell the people out there that it's definitely a good way to go, and it's something to consider. It's been awesome. I have enjoyed it so far. All right, let me catch up in the chat here. So Christian says, hoping T-Mobile does is offer a TV and internet bundle. Okay, so I'm not sure they're in a position to do anything internet related. That's like massive and huge. At least, like thinking like fixed or home internet provisions. I don't think that's in there, but the TV is definitely there. Now in the future, I think T-Mobile is going to get into some home internet stuff, or at least some kind of fixed internet. So we'll have to see when, but I think they're in on it. But the TV, I think, is ready because they've been relatively quiet about what they've been doing with Layer 3 TV since the acquisition, which, man, it's been about 7 or 8 months, 9 months maybe. So should be something going on there, something brewing. Akiva, welcome, my friend. Good to have you back. Glad you made it. I know it's a different time, but good to see you here. Man. So, hey, M. Kelleher says, hey, late, LOL, just happened to open YouTube. Yeah, the live stream's a little late. So the plan was to have this consistent window of like 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But I wasn't able to get off of work early enough to make it on time. So as soon as I got home from work, I grabbed something to eat, showered, cleaned up a bit, and made myself available now. So hopefully it's not too late. And who knows, maybe actually we'll have some new additions to the live stream. Some different people can visit and check it out. Ooh. All right, Peter. So they do provide internet in DC. Okay. So it's market to market based. It's probably very selective. All right, we've got 15 people in the chat. Make sure you guys are saying hello. Pop in here, make your formals. All right, Akiva. So I'm guessing when you're talking about the Note 8, you actually mean the Note 9? Because the Note 8's been out for about a year. The Note 9 is the one that was launched yesterday. All right, so, no, it's okay, no problem. So what do I think of the Note 9? Well, for starters, there was no buzz for me at the launch event for the Note 9 because all the leaks that have been coming out for the last several weeks showed us what the Note 9 looked like, showed us what it was going to be packing in terms of the internals, the hardware. We know it's going to be compatible with all networks. We know it's going to be very expensive. But all things considered, the Note series Galaxies for Samsung, they're usually the best phone that you can get on the market that's an Android. You can argue that iPhones could be better, but when it comes to hardware, design, performance, there's nothing better than a Note. You get a stylus, and now that stylus is now going to be Bluetooth compatible. It's going to, offer some really unique connectivity to the device. So snapping pictures, changing PowerPoint slides, there's going to be a lot of stuff you could do with the stylus pen. So I'm really excited for that. It's a massive device. It's really big, but you get a great display. Samsung has the best OLED panels in the business. It's a true powerhouse. They finally put a 4,000 milliamp hour battery in there, it's about time. They need a massive battery in there. It's been like, since the Note 5 that it's been kind of a small battery, and the Note 7 debacle, obviously. But yeah, it's starting at $1,000. To get the 512 gig version of it, you're paying $1,250. All that I just said, how great the Note is, and it is a great phone, this new Note 9. Pricing it at $1,000 to start, and $1,250 for the upgraded storage, and by the way, you get an extra 2 gigs of RAM. So the base has 6 gigs, and the 512 gig storage version has 8 gigs of RAM. I can't spend $1,200 on a phone. I'm sorry, I can't do it. There's no phone that they can make unless it pays bills, writes checks, makes dinner, can fix a bowl of cereal. It's got to do something more than just be a smartphone. $1,200, that's just too damn high. That is a crazy price. No, thank you. I don't think so. I mean, I kind of draw the line at like $500 or $600. I think that's plenty for a smartphone. There's a lot of people out there that'll tell you $200 and $300 is plenty for a smartphone. So what do I think of it? I think it's a great phone, but I think the deal breaker is the price. It's just too much. I can't get into that. Tito, I'm doing pretty well. How are you, my friend? Glad to have you. Glad you can make it. Thanks, M. Keller. Appreciate it, man. Glad you're liking the channel. Glad you're liking the videos. I hope you find them informative. I hope that you find them, I hope you find that they're valuable to you as a consumer. Hopefully it keeps you updated, and that's the important part, making sure you're up to date on all the information in the space. Peter says, I'm loving Android Pie. So I've got Android Pie on my Google Pixel 2 XL, and so far so good. I like it. The camera did some funny things yesterday, which I never had a problem with camera before. So I'm wondering if that was just kind of like some kind of bug or error. We'll have to see if it keeps occurring, but I just did like a restart, and it's been working fine ever since. But other than that, it's been good. The battery life's fine. It's the same. I'm trying to get used to the gestures and stuff like that. That's probably like the wave of the future. And the button placement has kind of changed. So, but I do like the AI learning of the operating system. Like, I'm finding that the operating system is doing a lot for me that I would normally do manually. That's kind of already starting to do for itself. So it's pretty cool. I've been liking it so far too, but we'll have to see what it's like after a couple months of usage and I've gone through all those little bits and details. You know what, Akiva? It's true. It is the same price as the iPhone 10, but the iPhone 10 is too damn high. It's too expensive. I would never buy an iPhone 10 at $1,000 or $1,200 or whatever they're selling it for. It's ridiculous. Those prices are just insane. I'm not giving it to them. I'm not paying it. Yeah, there'll be some deals though, Akiva. You're right. There's gonna be buy one get one. Verizon already has a pre-order buy one get one free on it. Samsung will give you up to $400 on a trade-in, up to $450 or something, which you get instantly. You don't have to sit around for bill payments. That might be good for some of you. But just that sticker prices, the MSRP is crazy. And just so you guys know, the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 is going to be the same price, unlocked, and at all carriers for the full retail price. So there's no need to shop around for a better price. They're all the same. It's just if you want to get it on a promotion, who's offering the best promotion for you. or if you're just going to pay the full retail, whatever. Christian, I would never pay $1,000 for a phone. I would never pay 900 for a phone. I never pay 800 for a phone. I bought my Google Pixel 2 XL for $450, brand new, actually from a Verizon employee that already had one. I guess it was like an incentive for selling the most phones in a month, and he just had no use for it because he already bought one. So he sold it to me for $450. I'm not gonna pay 800, 900, 1,000. No way. No, thank you. It's a phone. It's as simple as that. Now, if I was rich, maybe it wouldn't be an issue, but I'm not rich, so I can't afford it. All right, Akiva, that is one of the best questions anybody's ever asked me. So the question is, what is your channel mission statement? My mission statement is to inform the general public and I guess just to help people understand things a little bit better when it comes to their cellular providers and smartphone technology that's out. So when I first started doing this, I was into networks and I was into the carriers and I was always looking at promotions and I was always looking at network technology, but not to the detail I do now. And I think now that I've realized that some people share the same interest as me, we can kind of be on this journey together. So I do a little bit of learning myself, and then I try to inform and update people on what's going on with the carriers. And I think when we do this type of thing on YouTube, where creators get to keep all this information out there and expose hidden truths and try to actually investigate things, it just makes for more accountability by the carriers. So pulling the wool over the eyes, as they say. So that's kind of my mission statement. Oh, I was reading actually, Akiva, about the Tesla going private. I think that's what Elon Musk wants to do. He wants to take it private. Uh, I could see the good and the bad in that. I could definitely see the good from the Tesla side because the more public they are, obviously, the more they have to show, the more it becomes exposed. And with a business like that, sometimes you want to keep things private because you don't want things to come out. And of course, behind closed doors, shady things can happen. So, it's kind of a gift and a curse in a way. But there's some advantages to being public too. Is you have a lot of financial support, right? Staying public. So, I don't know. It just kind of matters, I guess, how you see it. Pete, so you're running a totally different camera app. I've actually used that camera app. I used to like it actually. I'm just rolling stock now. I don't really take the time to do too much. I used to use Nova Launcher all the time. I'm just rolling with the stock Pixel launcher. I use all the stock apps. I just use the Pixel as Google has intended it because I don't know. I want to see if it's better than what I've been tweaking for the last 10 years since I've had Android. I've always been a tweaker. I've always been changing this, changing that, and trying this and modifying that. So I'm just going stock. I'm trying the Google Pixel experience, as they say. Yeah, Pete. When I noticed that so when I got the Android Pie update, I got it the first day was public, and they started sending it out, which it happened like randomly, like nobody knew it was gonna happen. It just got released, and then people went to their software update button and clicked it, and boom, it was updating. And then so like I used my phone for like maybe a day, day and a half, and all of a sudden like apps and recommended apps and like app switching, all that stuff started to be very predictive. It was actually kind of cool. Creepy in a way, but like once you get used to it, you're like, okay, this is helpful, so it's not really creepy anymore. But like battery usage is a little bit better. App availability as you pull up on the recommended is a little bit better. I like that. Um, and actually, Bluetooth like kicks on like right when I come into the car. I don't know if it does it like by positioning like GPS or if it does it based on trying to connect to an available Bluetooth radio. I don't know, but it's been kind of cool watching this happen. It's been really nice. I've liked it so far. All right, Tito. I know it might be early to ask, but have you heard anything about the Galaxy S10? So it's never too early to talk about the next Samsung device. You're probably saying that because the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 just came out. It actually didn't even get released yet. It just launched. So now we just know that the phone officially exists. Um, the Galaxy S10 is probably going to be an almost savior to Samsung's mobile division. The Samsung Galaxy S9, S9 Plus, and Note 9 are pretty much viewed as like Samsung's smallest iterative updates to their devices ever. The Samsung S9 and S9 Plus are like the worst selling Samsung devices from the flagships in like the last 6 or 7 years. So that being said, they're going to need big things from the S10, at least from a financial standpoint. It'll sell really well. It's going to be a bigger update than the S9 was to the S8. So the S10 is going to pack some new features. It's going to have some new hardware, the fingerprint scanner, the face to unlock technology that they're going to implement. It's going to be a larger upgrade than the S8 to the S9 was, and I think it'll be worth it to buy. I think people will be happy, but the cost is probably going to go up too. I wonder if they're going to do like a regular version and then like a pro version, or if they're going to get rid of the plus. I don't know what they're going to do, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great phone. That one's going to be the biggie because that one's going to be 5G ready. So at least that's what we're hearing. That's what the rumors are. So it's definitely going to be worth it for people to upgrade if they're coming out of the S7 and probably the S8 too. If you're coming out of an S9, it's hard to shell out, $800 for a phone and then shell out another thousand for the next generation. Just a year later. Yeah, Peter, the same thing to me. I was a little creeped out at first, kind of seeing the way the operating system and the AI was like manipulating my usage. Just inadvertently, it was just kind of happening. But then as I was like, oh yeah, I remember Android Pie is supposed to be doing this. Just takes a little bit of adjustment of the expectations. Yeah, make sure if you guys are moving around and make sure your Wi-Fi is on. A Wi-Fi connection is usually better than a cellular connection. Of course, unless you're like 800 feet from a cell tower, then. You know what, Akiva? Those are good things to mention. Um, you're talking about policies using evidence. So I'm a science teacher. I teach biology. I've taught physical science. I've taught integrated science coursework, physics, and everything that we do in science-based research is always through evidence, through proving something, or you're not trying to prove it, you're trying to disprove something, and if you can't disprove it, then it's generally thought of as a fact, right? Always looking for the right answers. What is considered truth? That's kind of what like my mission statement here is trying to find what the truth is to everything. People make claims, people have opinions, all that is fine, but your opinions should be warranted with fact and proof and evidence, and that's what I try to do here. I don't try to allow my biases to get in the way of me discovering truth. And of course, people can have different opinions, and that's totally normal. I respect people's opinions, but sometimes people are just blatantly wrong, and you just like you try to do your best to convince them. Otherwise, and keep your own mind open for when you could potentially be wrong as well, and it's so you can learn. So, yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. All right, so we've got some news from Soul J. Just heard that Target just quit selling Boost mobile phones altogether. I don't know why though. Uh, Not sure either. Um, do all Targets have Boost in them? I don't think the Target near me has Boost Mobile in it. Um, I'll have to go with my wife the next time she goes shopping. We'll have to check on that. Um, Now, why they would stop selling them? Not really sure. Um, hmm, that's interesting. I might have to check into that. You know what, Akiva? I don't think there's Apple versus Android tension. I think that argument's a little bit childish. I don't really understand it. People have preferences and they enjoy certain platforms and operating systems. It's as simple as that. I don't know if it's even something you can measure what's better I mean, it's just what you prefer and what you like and what you're used to. You know what, Peter? I actually like the charging chime. You never know when a wire goes bad. Like you may just like so you've gotten used to not hearing the charging chime. So like what if the wire just decided to stop working one day and you left it and you were okay, I have 30 minutes to charge this. I'm gonna hop in the shower, shave, and be on my way. And then you plug it in, it didn't charge. And now you're hearing the chime, so you'd know if it wasn't charging, and then you could, respond accordingly. So I'm kind of glad I like the chime. I didn't even know if that was an option before, but I'm kind of glad I have it now. You know what, Akiva? That's an interesting thing. So like wireless charging is an awesome commodity. It's something that I really like. I had it a long time ago. I had wireless charging back in like I want to say like 2013. So we're talking like 5 years ago. It was what was it, a Nexus? I think it was a Nexus. Yeah, I'm almost positive it was a Nexus. All right, so I had wireless charging, and I bought the wireless charging pad, and I would set it on the pad, and it would charge, and it was kind of touchy. Had to be on a certain spot trying to get the coils to line up, to make sure it would charge. And it was just kind of a hassle, but I liked the feature, but it also wasn't like it wasn't part of like pop culture, as they say. Like you weren't finding wireless chargers everywhere. There were only a handful of phones that had it. Phones had to be plastic because they weren't using glass yet. Metal phones can't be used in wireless charging designs. So I really, really liked it, and its application just wasn't done right. And it took like Apple to add wireless charging for large scale wireless charging to become available, and obviously Samsung and stuff like that. But they're using glass designs, and I don't like glass. So I've been kind of frustrated with wireless charging. Plus, wireless charging is really slow. I'm hoping that outside of Samsung, we see like wireless charging really becomes centralized, and the rate at what these phones can charge improves. And not just that, like you said, you can't use your phone while it's on the wireless charge unless it's on speaker, right? It's really hard to handle and knock it off the charger. So I want to see the technology get. It's I think that'd be a much better application of it. All right, let's catch up in the chat here. What do we got? Mark Garcia, what's up, buddy? Good to have you. Glad you made it. Yeah, welcome. Glad you poked your head in here. Mo, what up? Special guest Mo Assad, ladies and gentlemen. Found some time in his busy schedule to come into the live chat. You know what, Akiva? Actually, wireless charging up until this year with it wasn't really centralized. It wasn't really there was no really set in stone way that they were going to have the wireless charging protocol. It just kind of became streamlined. Before there were kind of like two camps, and now it seems like Qi wireless charging (QI) seems to be the way they're going to go, and all the manufacturers are using it. And yeah, thanks to Apple, they kind of pushed with that. I'm kind of glad they did. If they would have gone proprietary with it, it would have just created a bigger can of worms, a bigger mess than before. So I'm glad to see at least they're going to mainstream a technology that they can all use. Arcelia, welcome. Glad you made it. So for those of you just getting in, the timing is all messed up today. I was at work for a while. I had to be there for a little bit longer than I anticipated. So I didn't get home till late and had to get cleaned up, eat something, and now I'm streaming. So we're about 29 minutes in. I'm gonna go as long as I can, but brother, probably get tired. Got work in the morning, so I'll try to hang in there with you guys. We started at 7 o'clock. See if I can give you guys a couple good hours. Let the conversation continue to evolve and go where it needs to. So with the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, was anybody impressed by it? Anybody like it? Anybody gonna upgrade to it? I've already kind of said my piece. I was talking about it earlier. It's too damn expensive. It's as simple as that. If I had $1,000 to spend on a smartphone, I might consider it. Yeah, the Samsung Galaxy Note 9s are probably, the Samsung Galaxy Note series is probably the best Android you could buy, but it's just too damn expensive. I can't do 1,000. I can't do 900. No. So I don't know where you guys are at with that. Okay, Arcelia says iPad wireless charging rumors. Yeah, I'm hearing that, and I'm hearing that the wireless charging pad is going to actually be able to charge two devices at once. It's going to be able to charge the main device, and it's also going to be able to charge a smartwatch, the Apple Watch. So I don't know what that's going to look like. If it'll be like, a place where you can kind of dock or set, the larger device, and then a place where you could set, the smaller, the watch portion of it. So I just wonder what they're going to charge for it. It's going to be very proprietary, watch them charge something outrageous like $190 or something crazy. We'll have to see what they do, but it's just too much. They oh, trust me, Apple's going to get their money for some new tech. They always do. All right, Peter says, this is a good conversation. I like this one. Peter says his smartphone cap is 650 bucks. Man, in this day and age, for a brand new flagship, that limits our price options, doesn't it? So at 650 bucks, what are you getting from the Android side? You're getting a brand new One Plus with the highest storage and RAM option, and you've got about $80 to spare, so you're getting accessories with that. 650 bucks, you're getting the Pixel, the smaller device. With 650 bucks, flagship wise, you might just have to possibly wait for a deal on like an LG or a Samsung. But that's kind of it, like when it comes to flagship prices. I don't think iPhones are ever going to be under 700 bucks anymore. I think that's a thing of the past. I think even the budget iPhone for 2018, the one with the LCD, the 6.1-inch model, I think that one's going to be probably closer to like 700 or 750, because they've already set the bar at $1,000 for the iPhone 10. They know they can get it from people. They're going to continue to overcharge and charge people whatever prices they want. Mo says 200 is my phone cap. Man, it's for a brand new phone, like a flagship, 200. That's a down payment, bro. But like a mid-ranger, you can get a brand new mid-ranger. You could get a used flagship. There's like the Moto Z2 Force. You get a great deal on a Moto Z2 Force right now, flagship from last year. Uh, Probably around the $200 range, $300 range. You know what, Tito? The S10 is probably going to be like, it's probably going to be pretty close to 1,000. I think it's gonna be around 800 as like the entry level, so like the regular S10, and I think that Plus or whatever Pro model they make is probably gonna be closer to 1,000. Yeah, the Note 9, um, when it came out was 950 bucks. The Note or the Note 8 when it came out was 950 bucks. The Note 9 is 1,000 to start. These prices are outrageous. See, Soul J, you're a bargain shopper. You keeping the money in your pocket instead of wasting it on flagships. You went with the more affordable, budget option. I remember Chris Rock was making a joke at one of his shows, and he said, what's the difference between me and Jay-Z? Jay-Z buys the Bentley, I buy the Altima, so I'm like $150,000 richer than Jay-Z. I mean, if you are, if you're inclined to buy an expensive phone, you do it, and if you can't justify it or you can't do it, you don't. Kiva. So yeah, that I think that's what they're gonna call it, is Apple AirPower. I don't know. I'm sure it'll charge everything just fine. I'm sure it'll function just fine. We'll just have to see what the price is. Yeah, Mo would rather buy a dirt bike. Hey Mo, what kind of dirt bike can you get for, six, 700, $800? What are you getting with that? I haven't seen Chris Rock live, but I saw his brother Tony Rock. His brother is hilarious. If you guys want a good comedian that's kind of like under the radar, not many people know about him. Chris Rock's brother Tony Rock is a freak show. He is so funny. Just YouTube any of his stand up. It's hilarious. All right, so we got the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 stuff kind of out of the way. What else is up and coming? We've got the T-Mobile announcement coming up on August 15th for their next Un-carrier move. That's coming up next week. What is that? The 15th. 15th. What is that? Wednesday? Tuesday? Forget what day it is. So that's up and coming sometime in the middle of the week. Um, Verizon, if you have Verizon Unlimited, if you have the Go, if you have the Beyond, or if you have the Above, whatever, any combination of those three, you're actually going to get 6 months free Apple Music for being a T-Mobile Unlimited customer. That's pretty cool. So I had a video on that this week. Anybody on Verizon's Unlimited plans excited to get the Apple Music? It's a pretty cool subscription service. I know my wife has it. I know a lot of people that use Apple Music. It's pretty good. So 6 months free of that. Not as good as a Netflix subscription, but not bad. 6 months. I mean, Verizon in the past would have never done anything like this. So I wonder if this has something to do with a potential partnership with Apple TV or something like that, or if it's, just Verizon trying to do something similar, kind of sort of like T-Mobile. I have no idea. Tito, I am actually running a Google Pixel 2 XL. Yep. And I actually have another device. My second device is a Moto Z2 Play. Man, I love that thing for its battery life. It's fantastic. But it's not like a flagship. It's not like the Google Pixel 2 XL. It has a Snapdragon 6 series. The camera is very average. It's not a flagship type device, but my daily driver is this one, the Google Pixel 2 XL. And no, Tito, I don't mind you asking. It's not that personal of a question. New iPad. I wonder if we're going to see the new iPad announced with the phones. So the phones we can expect pretty soon. It's just a few weeks away. So I'm hoping that maybe something soon. I know that there's a lot of buzz for the iPads. We're hoping to see some technology changing. We're hoping to see uh, a lot of the face to unlock features to the iPad, maybe the bezels shrinking and getting more of that like pushed out display all the way edge to edge. So we'll see. I'm sure they'll be expensive for like the Pro variants and whatnot, but I guess there's supposed to be some affordable options with the iPads now. So we'll see. I don't know if they're going to continue to do minis or whatever, but we'll see. Fernando chiming in. Welcome, my friend. Yeah, yeah, that's what we're thinking. Layer 3 TV next week. You know what, Mark? That is a really good question. I've been thinking about this for the last few weeks, and I'm going to tell you why I've been thinking about it for the last couple weeks. I saw the renders of the Google Pixel 3 XL, and I was like, man, I really hope that is not what it's going to look like. So I've been holding out hope that it doesn't look like that with the ugly notch that makes no sense that it's there, because the bottom chin is existent. So they didn't even go like they didn't go edge to edge display with just the notch at the top. They literally have a bottom chin and then a notch at the top, and it's massive. Uh, it's ridiculous. So I saw that render and I was holding out hope that that was fake, and then somebody actually has a production unit. I think it's some like Ukrainian blogger, and he did like 2 videos on it, and he posted all the pictures of it, and it legitimately looks like that. It's horrible. I'm not going to be buying the Google Pixel 3 XL. I'm going to take a look at the Google Pixel 3, but it's just hard now that I've gotten used to like the larger screen real estate and the bigger battery. I don't know. We'll have to see, but and I'm also hearing that the phone's going to have 4 gigs of RAM. All of the new Android flagships have 6 and 8 gigs of RAM now. I don't understand what Google's doing with that. It's really, really aggravating to see Google kind of playing games with customers. Like their designs, they're very basic. So Google Pixel, the first generation, was like really plain Jane. I feel like the Google Pixel 2, again, very plain Jane, but the 2XL was a little bit better because they got rid of some of the bezel sizes. And then, this new Pixel 3 XL is just, it's so ugly and it's so useless to have that notch there. First of all, I hate notches. Second of all, a useless notch where you don't even have a bezel-less display and you just put a notch just because. It's very, very frustrating. I'm gonna have to look elsewhere if I'm gonna upgrade. I may actually just hold on to my Google Pixel 2 XL for another year and see what they do with the fourth generation Pixel. I'm actually hearing there's going to be a third Pixel device, which is going to be released in like the middle of the year. I don't know if it's coming to the States or if it's going to be like an India exclusive. I don't know. There's a lot of like rumors floating around about it, but I'd be willing to give that one a try if the design is better. I mean, I'm not even that particular about design. I just don't want something ugly. I don't need the most attractive device, but it cannot be ugly. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I don't know. Maybe if I get a good deal on a Galaxy phone, like the S10 or something, middle of the year next year, maybe I'll consider upgrading. But as of right now, I'm good with the Google Pixel 2 XL for a while. Arcelia, I used to have an iPad, um, and I think I had the Mini, the second gen iPad Mini, and I don't know, I just haven't been using it. I think it's somewhere in a drawer. No, 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 it's not an iPad. It's a Nexus. But like I've used iPads. I've gifted iPads to people, so I'm familiar with the devices. But I'm actually thinking if I get an iPad on a good enough deal, then maybe I'd consider getting one. Maybe phase out my Android tablets. I still use my Nexus 7 sometimes. Um, I think the iPads are a nice form factor. The operating system obviously is optimized for use on a tablet. So, yeah, they're pretty nice devices. I like them. Pyramid 7, can you recommend a cheap, perhaps secondhand way via PC to utilize a music recording software? Um, I couldn't. I don't really. Mm, I don't know. Anybody out there that could help out Pyramid 7? He's looking for a deal on a PC, if I'm asking right. Uh, I don't know. I haven't been paying too much attention to PCs for a while. The last PC I bought was one that I actually built. So I picked all the components, had it assembled, and after that I switched completely to like everything on the cloud. So I have Chromebooks. I use my smartphone for a lot of computing. My wife has a MacBook which I use, which I like, MacBook Air. But I've been out of the computer game for a while. It's been mostly mobility for me. Yeah, Mark, I'm just catching up in the chat here. Mark, I think the notch is a stupid, stupid design choice. Now, if you were obligated to have a notch because you had to fit in some special camera software or camera hardware, fine, so be it. But just putting it to go with some kind of market trend is ridiculous. It's so ugly. First generation iPad. Does that run well? Man, when is that? When was that produced, the first generation of iPad? I'd like to see how that works for you. You know what, Mark? I think the notch trend is stupid. I think Chinese manufacturers clearly show that they are just, lurking in the shadows of Apple and just copying whatever Apple does. Um, it's just ridiculous. It's like follow the leader with these people. You know what, Arcelia? I'm okay with charging ports being removed if wireless charging is completely reliable and completely available. Like everywhere you go, it's available. Like, then fine. But like, as long as wireless charging sucks, and as long as wireless charging is limited, and as long as the application is restricted, then we're gonna need our ports. because obviously with less ports you get more, water resistance. It's more tight, dust and water resistant stuff like that. Nano coatings are not really necessary. You can build a more solid device. So yeah, I mean there's perks to it. I'll tell you what, Christian, if Apple makes an iPad all glass, you can't give them to children. Like, part of the allure of iPads is adults use them and kids can also use them because, they're running, basic games. Maybe they use them for school, watching a video. Man, you hand a child an all glass device, you are asking for trouble. You're going to have to put like a bomb proof case on it to keep it from breaking in a kid's hands. So that would be ridiculous. Unless they make like a pro variant of the iPad and it's designed for productivity and for adult usage, that'd be another thing. So Jay, what's the resolution on the newest generation of the iPad? I'm just wondering if they're giving you what, like full HD, they're giving you 1080. Those things by now should probably be something like Quad HD or 2K at least, something like that. Nathan, welcome. Does the Samsung Note 9 have a 5G modem in it? Unfortunately, no. The Samsung Galaxy Note 9 has the Snapdragon 845 processor, which means it is not 5G compatible. So the first 5G compatible chipsets are going to be coming from Qualcomm next year. There's probably going to be a few manufacturers in the next couple months that are going to be messing around with the processor, which is the Snapdragon 855. That one's going to be 5G compatible. It's going to have the X50 5G modem in it. Which, if you guys have ever seen the video, I don't know if it's a Patreon or a YouTube video. The arrangement for the 5G chip that's the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 is going to have, it's got four 5G LTE antennas arranged in the corners of the chip, and those modules receive the signal and transfer signal. So yeah, and it's a new technology. So unfortunately, no, the brand new $1,000, $1,250 Samsung Galaxy Note 9 does not have 5G compatibility. However, the Moto Z3, which just launched last week, will be 5G compatible with a Moto mod, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure how effective it's going to be. I hear it's only going to be compatible with Verizon's 5G, so I don't know. We'll have to see what that looks like and how it's going to work. All right, we got some people asking some questions and some comments here. Let me catch up in the chat. You know what, Mark? Mark Garcia is saying that wireless charging cooks your battery. It does produce more heat to get the same amount of charge as a wired connection. But I think as technology improves, I think some of the heat dissipating features are going to improve, and I think it's going to be less of a concern. Obviously, the technology does have to improve. At this moment in time, you will feel a lot of heat, and obviously heat is bad for batteries. That's probably the worst thing for batteries. Cold is bad, but heat is worse. So it's definitely a legitimate concern. Arcelia says Gorilla Glass iPad. The only issue with Gorilla Glass is usually scratch proof, but it's not shatter proof. If you're gonna want a shatterproof glass body or a glass display, it's got to be kind of like acrylic, like plasticky, and of course those scratch really, really easily. So it's kind of like a trade-off. You want something scratch proof, it breaks really easy. You want something that doesn't break, it's very prone to scratching. Kind of sucks. Fabulous Creations, welcome. Good to have you. Nathan says, do you think the Samsung S10 will have it? So I'm guessing you're talking about 5G compatibility. I think the answer to that is yes. I think the S10 is going to be the first big manufactured flagship that is going to be 5G compatible. And I think it's going to be 5G compatible with all carriers. So as soon as Sprint has 5G, as soon as T-Mobile has 5G, Verizon, AT&T, it'll be compatible with all forms of 5G because unfortunately, the Moto mod That's going to be the 5G mod for the Moto Z3. That's only going to work on Verizon's 5G. So it must be the antennas and the modules that are in the mods. They're only going to be compatible with Verizon, so that kind of sucks. But the S10 should have it, and it should be ready to go out of the box. And by then, we should have some cities with some 5G. And of course, by the end of the year, there'll be more and more markets by 2020. So even if you buy an S10 in 2019, that phone is going to be relevant for a few years. So as 5G is maturing, as 5G makes its way large scale, that phone will be more and more attractive to the user. So yeah, I think the S10 is a good way to go if you're going to be buying a 5G compatible phone. That's a pretty good resolution for an iPad. I'd say so. That's pretty good. Danny, what up? Good to see you, buddy. Glad you could make it. Arcelia asks, is there 4K display on phones? I think there's only a couple manufacturers that actually have a 4K display. I know Sony makes at least one, maybe two phones that have 4K resolution on the screens. It's definitely a little bit of an overkill situation. Like, you have a 5 or a 6 inch device. Why in the world would you need 4K? But I mean, especially for VR purposes, why not? You're paying $700, $800, $900 for a phone. Why not have 4K? I hear people talk about how 4K, it drains the battery more because it's pushing more pixels. Honestly, I've tweaked with my display settings on my old Samsung. I used to have an S7, and I ran it in, like, you could customize the resolution. I ran it at 720p. I ran it at 1080p. I ran it at Quad HD. And honestly, I didn't see any difference in battery performance. They all drain the same. So I think some of that's overly done. So if you want a 4K phone, I know Sony makes a couple. I'm not sure about any other manufacturers though, for sure. Possibly LG makes one. Maybe the V30. No, I don't think so. I think it's Quad HD. You'll probably have to do some research. I know that Sony has at least one model though. You know what, Mark? Me too. I'm glad to see. I to be honest with you, like, I'm looking at how many people are in the live stream, and the number is about the same, but there's new people in the live stream. So I normally do the Friday live stream between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time. I had to do this one a little bit later, but it's good to see some new people in here actually. So it's kind of cool. But I do see my regulars, and it's good to have you guys. I know I can count on you all. So, well, it's just good to see more people coming in. So I'm happy with that. You know what's crazy, Arcelia? Like, so we're talking 5K TVs, right? Like, how much content is 4K ready? Like, for most cable providers, they're sending, shows and TV channels to you at 1080p. I mean, they're not even in Quad HD. They're not even 4K. For them to be marketing 5K, I mean, it's 5K and 8K. All this. It's all just. I think it's all a bunch of marketing ploy. They're just trying to sell some new product to you, trying to get you on something else to spend money. When we haven't even really achieved a global, large-scale 4K usage rate. So, you know what, Pete? 720 is very common, and that kind of sucks. I think 1080p is kind of like bare minimum, what we should be at by now. But what are you gonna do, man? I mean, I wish there was a little bit uh, more of a digital standard, higher standards, higher digital standards. I think 720p is a little low. It should be 1080p bare minimum. Now, if it's wireless, right, your connectivity is wireless, then fine. PBS is 480p? Seriously? Man. Well, all right. So, cheers to DVD quality video resolution. I want to say, like, the first Quad HD phone I had was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Nexus 6 Quad HD. And the Nexus 6, the Motorola, that large Shamu Android, I think it was like 2013 or 14. So, and it's been a while. I've been rolling with Quad HD. You know what, Arcelia? I think eventually the cable companies will be streaming a lot of 4K. Not everything should be streamed in 4K. Like some things, it just doesn't make sense. Like, for example, like CG movies, computer generated animation, stuff like that. That stuff should be 4K. You know, computer manipulated transitions. You know, very high refresh rates. All that makes sense. Certain things don't have to be 4K. You know, like I don't know, like he was saying, PBS. You know, that doesn't have to be 4K, I guess. Now, I don't know what, you know, Arcelia, I don't know what cable companies are going to charge when they start offering more than half of their services at 4K, but, you know, they could definitely charge a premium for it. You may not even want it at that point. You know what, Pete? You and I at least, and anybody who's seen my Layer 3 TV video on Patreon, we kind of know the deal with Layer 3 TV and what they do in terms of the compression of their video streaming. When you've got their type of technology in use, streaming at 4K is easy. You're operating using a very small portion of the required bandwidth that other platforms use, so it makes sense for them to provide more and more 4K. But I think some companies kind of stay away from offering too much 4K. You know, the cost and the taxing, you know, to broadcast it. I'm guessing like an Avengers flick would be really nice in 4K. Like any of these new Avengers, Marvel movies, stuff like that. Kind of a shame what happened to 3D. 3D video recording? Nothing. It's like non-existent anymore. Comcast is charging 15 bucks for on-demand last time I checked for 4K. Yeah, I don't know. How many people out there are willing to pay an additional $15 to have 4K on-demand movies? You know, I don't know if that's going to be worth it to anybody who would normally stream it at 1080p. The last movie I saw from any of those Marvel and DC cinematic universes, I think it was the Avengers movie. Had like Guardians of the Galaxy characters in it and all that. It was pretty good. I saw the Black Panther right before that. That was pretty good. And didn't Black Panther set like a record for like the second best selling movie ever? Wakanda Forever, apparently. They got all the money. Harvest all that vibranium. All right, so we are 58 and a half minutes into the live stream. We've already talked about some topics from the Galaxy Note 9 launch, which was yesterday. We have talked a little bit about T-Mobile and their next Un-carrier announcement, which is next week. We've talked a little bit about 5G, some of the phones that are up and coming next year that are going to have it available. In terms of any other news and notes, next week we are expecting that announcement from T-Mobile. Also, Verizon's going to have a 6-month free offering from Apple Music. So if you're on a Verizon Unlimited plan, that'll be available to you, I think, starting Thursday or Wednesday. So you can be on the lookout for that if you're interested in that. Oscar Federico Jr., what's up, brother, man? Good to have you. Glad you could make it. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, you know what, Pete? Netflix, I was looking through a lot of their programming, and they do have a lot of 4K. And that's not even like it's not an expensive service. Like, isn't the basic subscription for Netflix like $9 or $10? So like if you're paying $9 or $10 a month for Netflix and you're getting all that 4K, why would you bother with like $15 add-on from Comcast, you know? You're getting some really nice production from a lot of the studios in Netflix. You're getting some really good shows. You're getting good movies now. Oh, you're not late, my friend. You are definitely not late. You came right in the middle of it. So we're about an hour in. We've got an hour to go. Oh, okay. I remember now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They offer like a premium for the 4K. Yeah, so 14 bucks. But do keep in mind, I don't know if Comcast, allows this. Does Comcast have an app where you could take the app, download it onto your phone, and you could watch all your TV services through there? With Netflix, again, you're fully mobile. It's on your phone, it's on your iPads. You could download on any device that has Google Play or the App Store. So I don't know if Comcast can say the same. They may. I'm not sure. What I've also noticed is the apps for cable providers are straight trash. They're not optimized well. They're janky. They're not reliable. They're horrible. In fact, when I had Cox and they let me use the streaming app, you could only stream when connected to your Wi-Fi. So you couldn't even take it to go. Once you lose connection to your Wi-Fi, it disconnects. It was ridiculous. They made you pay like an extra $20, or you had to kick it up to like their premium plan. So your plan would go from like 130 a month for services to like 180, and then you would qualify for the on the go mobile. It was horrible. Yeah, Mark. Everybody that has or had Netflix has enjoyed it. I can't say I've ever heard somebody really say anything bad about Netflix. Yeah, yeah. If I use the VPN, see, this was like 3 years ago. I was just kind of trying things out, and I only started using VPNs like within the last year, maybe a year or 2 years. Which, by the way, VPNs are fantastic. If you are sick of being throttled for your video resolution, if you're sick of being throttled for video streaming speeds, get a VPN. Uh, None of the VPN services are paying me, so I don't need to like name drop anybody. But just do a search and find a good, reliable VPN on a good price, and you'll have all types of resolution for streaming video. Your speeds will be fast. It'll be great. So I definitely recommend VPNs. 066 Ultra says if you have T-Mobile, you get Netflix free. You got to be on the T-Mobile One plan or T-Mobile One Plus to get the free Netflix. But yeah, they do give it to you. I think it's the $8 or the $9 plan. So you're not getting the 4K, but they are giving you that. So if you want the 4K option, you just pay the difference. Yeah, I heard about that, Soul J. They're fighting for those huge movies. They're big money. Those movies generate tons and tons of money. They're the best-selling movies on the market. Deadpool. Yeah, Deadpool, but Deadpool was a really good movie. I know it was R-rated. There probably shouldn't have been so many kids in there watching it, but it was a pretty funny movie. It was good. Peter says for the streaming, you need to do some advanced routing with your router. Uh, I don't. I mean, I don't really have to do too much in terms of routing. So for starters, I use DirecTV now. So I don't know. I don't really have any resolution issues. The only issues I see is before I started using the VPN, DirecTV now would be a little blurry because the video resolution was lower because of the streaming speed being throttled. As soon as I started using the VPN, the restrictions were lifted. Oh, on the home network. Okay, got you. You know what, Arcelia? Netflix no like VPN, but there are at least two or three really well-known VPNs that work well with Netflix. I forget which ones they are. If you search like just a regular Google search, VPNs that work for Netflix, you'll see, I'm sure, a handful of them. Those are the ones you want to find for that. Yeah, they lock you out and they won't stream. 066 Ultra, what we're talking about is Like, say for example, you have a Verizon Unlimited plan, which is what I have. I'm capped at 720p video resolution on my plan. Some people have a plan below and they're actually capped at 480p. If you're sick of being throttled at 480p or 720p and you want to go full HD or even quad HD or potentially 4K, whatever, if you use a good VPN service, so pay for the VPN service, get unlimited usage of the VPN. What the VPN allows your data to do is it allows your data to look like regular data. It doesn't look like it's video data to your carrier. Therefore, it won't be throttled and it won't be restricted by that resolution. So it's just one of those little workarounds that allows your data to be encrypted and protected while also, freeing up the restrictions from throttling and stuff like that. So it's something to consider. Oscar says Verizon Wireless and AT&T feels a lot of pressure by T-Mobile. Um, I mean, that's kind of like a loaded statement. Verizon, in terms of the network, they're really, really far ahead in front of T-Mobile. AT&T is as well. So from the network side, they're not really feeling pressure. But where they do feel the pressure is T-Mobile's growth. They see that T-Mobile adds the most consumers from subscribers and smartphone ads every quarter. They add the most. I can't even remember the last time T-Mobile didn't have the most customer ads in a quarter. It's literally been like, I don't know, like 5 years or something, maybe longer. So T-Mobile has been showing the most consistent growth and the highest magnitude of growth. I think if anything, that's where they're feeling pressure. AT&T's been purging customers for a long time, and Verizon's growth has had some pretty stagnant quarters. Um, it's much better this year than it was last year, but again, like I said, they don't really feel pressure from T-Mobile from anything other than just customer growth, which is important because that's where people are spending money. All right, let me go ahead and catch up here. Uh, Arcelia says I have IP Vanish. Yeah, that's. Oh, see, IP Vanish though. I've heard that's a pretty good VPN. I didn't know it didn't work for Netflix. There are some VPNs that do work for Netflix though. You know what, Mark? So when I reported the VPN that's being offered by Verizon, I don't know if it's out yet. I'm gonna have to check into it. I know they said they were gonna offer the service. I don't think I trust a Verizon VPN, and I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, why would you use a VPN from a company that wants to see your data? So like Verizon wants to know what you're doing. Verizon is the one throttling your video. They're the one throttling your streaming services. Why would they want to be unshackling those speeds with their own service? I don't know. It seems kind of counterintuitive. Like, what's their motivation? And I'm a skeptic when it comes to Verizon's VPN service. That's all I'm saying. Plus, they're charging like, I don't know if it's $3 or $4 for the app monthly. I'd rather pay for a more well-known premium VPN service that I know is credible and is not provided by my carrier. So, just me personally. All right, so we are 1 hour and 9 minutes in. It's been really good so far. We've talked VPNs, we've talked Marvel movies, we've talked carriers, we've talked the Galaxy Note 9. So far so good. We've touched on a lot of different things. So a little bit's been going on in the merger. I don't know if you guys are keeping up. I'm probably gonna have to do a video at some point this week on it. There's kind of some mixed emotions going on with the merger. Again, I feel very confident that the merger between Sprint and T-Mobile is going to happen. I think it's good as done. Just kind of a matter of time till it goes through. This week we kind of got confirmation that that's the case. Um, the the approval process seems to be progressing just fine. I think the way that things are kind of shaping up is everybody is agreeing, at least those that are in the I guess the assessment of the merger, they're all saying that yes, and especially from like those that are overseeing the merger, they feel like a three carrier system is required to make the market more competitive, especially moving to 5G. And not to say that I'm warming up to that idea, but I understand the idea. I've always understood the idea. I just wanted to see Sprint do it on their own. I've been kind of disappointed that it's come to the point where they need the merger, but it is what it is at this point, and they have to make this business decision. So, um, that's kind of where it's at now. So everybody's kind of in agreement. The merger has to happen to make a three carrier system work in the US. Now, once they make that decision and that's out there, that's pretty much telling you the merger is going to go. It's going to happen. So that's kind of where we're at with the merger. Hi, wife. Soul J says, "Do you listen to Selena? Um, is that a singer? I have a feeling you're about to get mad at me or something. Like I'm supposed to know who Selena is. Is that like Selena Gomez? Uh, Selena J, Selena. I don't know. My bad, bro. I mean, if you're talking music, my musical preferences are hip hop, like 90s hip hop, 2000s, current hip hop, some of it. Um, I like the grunge of the 90s, like that's kind of like my era. So I don't know who that is, Soul J. I'm sorry, man. You know what? I'll check it out though. I mean, I like all types of music. I'll listen to anything at least once. I mean, sometimes I got to listen to stuff I don't want to listen to. My wife turns on something in the car, I got to listen to it. I'll tell you what, Peter, I took a class in college called The Roots of Rock and Soul. I did my undergrad at Cleveland State University, and Chaz, the guy who taught the class, did a great job of going through the history of rock and roll music in America, and that was a great class. I learned so much about rock in its early developments and infancy stages, and the 50s and 60s were huge for rock and roll. So yeah, I have a huge appreciation for the music from that era. She is a legendary singer who. Wait, I know who this is. They have like documentaries on her and stuff. She was like beloved, wasn't she? Like everybody really, really liked her. She was like a international star. I know who this is. She was young. Like this was a long time ago, wasn't it? Man, you guys are about to hang me for that Selena thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The movie, yes, yeah, man. We're talking about the same one. All right. Thanks for chiming in, Steve. Needed that. All right, so launch for the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 was yesterday. I think the next phones that are going to be launched from the flagships, we're talking the Google Pixel phones and then the Apple iPhones. Google's going to have two phones, a smaller one and a larger one. And then Apple's going to have three phones. They're going to have the replacement for the iPhone 10, an LCD version of the iPhone 10, a little bit larger, and then some kind of like a plus model, which is going to look like the iPhone 10 but larger, obviously. Is anyone interested in those devices? I just kind of want to get like an impression from you guys if anybody's looking forward to it. Remember, those phones are going to be expensive. Maybe the Google Pixel, the smaller one, is going to be like 700 bucks. The iPhones are all going to probably be at like seven, 800, 900, $1,000. So I'm not sure where you guys stand on that. A lot of you probably want to wait till 5G phones are ready, which would mean next year, like the Samsung Galaxy S10. I don't know. So Jay, my wife almost got heated. Man, don't get the wives involved. Oh man, you gotta pretend like I know what you were talking about. All right, Mark, take care, my friend. Enjoy the weekend. All right, so Arcelia, you just upgraded to the iPhone 8 Plus. Yeah, you probably don't feel the pressure to upgrade. Are you financing the iPhone 8 Plus or did you pay for it straight up? All right, so Steve Sanchez says, I am going to buy the new iPhone in September. All right, so Steve, you have choices. You've got three models. You have the replacement for the iPhone 10, so it'll basically look the same, pretty much just be upgraded internals, same size and everything, same technologies. Then you've got the 6.1-inch LCD variant of the iPhone 10, which will be a little bit bigger. They're all going to have that notch. They're all going to have the infinity display, bezel-less display setup. They're all going to have wireless charging, glass bags, stuff like that. That one's going to be a little bit more affordable. And then they're going to have the Plus model, which will be much bigger and probably much more expensive. That thing's probably going to cost around $1,000. All right, Arcelia, so are you leasing it through Sprint? Or are you financing it? Worst decision of my life. Oh no, Arcelia. Uh, so that must mean that you're locked in on some form of a lease or a contract, and you're not happy with the service by the sounds of it. Worst decision of my life. Man, people say getting married to the wrong person is the worst decision of their life. People say, declaring bankruptcy is the worst decision of my life. Sprint? Says a lot about Sprint. Now, some people are very happy with Sprint. There are some markets that have great Sprint coverage, so people ride with them, stick with them because they offer great pricing. But there are some markets that just Sprint does not perform well in. I hear that all the time. Actually, in the Cleveland area, Sprint has so many areas, pockets with 3G and a lack of LTE. It's horrible here too. All right, Steve. So you're gonna go with the X Plus. You're gonna look at least 900 to 1,000. So, but yeah, it'll probably be an awesome phone. It's gonna be very powerful. I'm sure the display will be nice. Wireless charging will be good. Um, I don't know. We'll have to see what the final designs look like. We have a good idea of what they look like. Once people start getting them in their hands and checking them out, we'll know more about them. You see, Christian, I was hearing about that third Google device also, but I don't know if it's going to be available in the US or if it's going to be an international phone like in India. I don't know if it's going to be budget minded, like it'll be like a $400 or $500 phone, or if it's going to be a premium offering. I don't know, but I I do not like the Google Pixel 3 XL. It may not matter to you when it comes to design, but I don't know. It doesn't look like a good phone to me in terms of design, but I'm sure functionality. But it's got 4 gigs of RAM. Like, how are you going to be making flagship devices selling them for 800-900 bucks with 4 gigs of RAM when the rest of the market is using 6 and 8 gigs? It's ridiculous. Yeah, Arcelia. So you're on that lease. I think Sprint does like 18-month leases. So if you just signed up recently, you're going to be with them for a while. 30-month contract? Aren't those AT&T does 30-month contracts, don't they? Yeah, you know what, Steve? The lease deals that Sprint has, they're kind of nice. Like, I know now they're leasing the iPhone 8 for $8 a month for the 18 months, and I actually hear there's a new iPhone 10 deal through Sprint. Their 18-month lease, it's like $5 a month, which is crazy. That's great. So if you want a new phone every 18 months, the Sprint lease makes sense. The Flex or whatever they call it. That would be great. $5 a month for an iPhone 10. That's fantastic. Wow, that's really sad news, Arcelia. Your bill should be the same every month if you're receiving the same services every month. That's crazy. That would drive me mad. But I do see even I have Verizon and my bill does go down some months. Like it's supposed to be a set amount and it's usually that and then randomly it'll be like 30 cents less or $3 less. I don't know if it's taxes or regulatory fees, but I've seen that and if it's less then I'm cool with that. I don't want it to be more, obviously. So Oscar says, I thought Sprint and T-Mobile were the same. Not yet, my friend. They're getting there, right? They're working towards the merger, but not just yet. It's going to be some time. Peter, my brother said the same exact thing. He says T-Mobile keeps doing the same thing when it comes to no no no, Verizon. My bad. My brother has Verizon, and he said the same thing. The bill does this little teeter totter thing. It's got a certain amount that it usually is, and then sometimes it'll randomly come down. But yeah, I've seen that. And if my bill was going up, it'd be a totally different story. I'd be on the horn with customer service, like change it now. Uh, I'll tell you what, Christian. So 4 gigs is 4 gigs is probably fine, but it's getting to the point where the more RAM there is, it does help the phone run better. Because what you can do with more RAM, obviously, the RAM management, if it's there, can hold more apps open. You don't have to relaunch them. They just kind of open up from where they were. They're able to hold on to more memory. It's just a better situation. Now, if the next generation Google Pixels were $500, then fine, put 4 gigs of RAM. But you're going to be charging 800 and 850 probably. So it's frustrating to see that they're not giving at least 6 gigs of RAM. I mean, even just like when you think about Android versus iOS, Android just requires more resources to run efficiently. It's just the way the operating system works. So if you keep that in mind, and 4 gigabytes of RAM is starting to kind of like be a little bit close for comfort, you need to put in six. And if you're going to be charging $900 like the rest of the flagships that offer 6 and 8, you have to do the same. That's horrible, Arcelia. I'm sorry to hear that. Always on the phone with customer service. That's a sign of a bad company. Well, like your experience is bad with them. I'm sure there's people out there that don't have problems with Sprint, but unfortunately that happens. Yeah, I can't say that I've ever had that issue with any of my providers. I've had AT&T in the past. I've had and still have Verizon. I mean, usually things get resolved pretty quickly and they don't arise again. In fact, when I had AT&T, I would call, do some complaining, kind of get angry but not disrespectful, and they would often fix the issue and then offer credit for my inconvenience, which was kind of nice. And Verizon's done that as well. I actually filed I filed a formal complaint with the FCC about Verizon, and they actually ended up paying off my bill, which my bill has 7 lines on it, so you can expect, that was a very high amount. They credited me the entire cost of my 1 month bill, which was kind of nice. All right, Oscar, go ahead, juice up, man. Hopefully you guys charged up. You got to make sure you start with at least 90% battery life when you start with Sneeze live streams. We go for like 2 hours here. We're about 1 hour, 23 minutes in, so we've got a little bit over a half an hour to go. I'll ride with you guys till about 9 o'clock, and then I'm done. I got to retire for the evening. As soon as this water dries up, we're done. Yeah, Pete, I've probably filed, I think it was sometime last year. It might have been around this time last year. Um, I want to say it was right around the time they did the switch to the 720p restriction. And, I was really, really amped up. If you actually go back in my videos to like a year ago, and like Verizon in February of last year started they brought back their unlimited plans. And then 5, 6 months after that, they started their video restriction, their video throttling to 720p, and I was pissed. And I called them up and I dogged them, and I said, "You sold me this phone," and da 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 da. And I was giving them the business, and I was like, "You can't be restricting video, you can't be pulling and springing this on people in the middle of their contracts, da da da." And they're like, well, they just basically wanted to settle my complaint, and they're like, "As long as you'll agree to this credit and you'll agree to lay off the filing of the complaint, we'll just let it go." And I was like, "You know what, man? I'll take the credit." But I wasn't acting like I was going to hold up. I mean, if I really wanted to carry out with it, I mean, I filed the complaint. So I don't care. I had to do it. It's kind of my duty, right? I'm trying to be an informed citizen, help others in the process. You know, that's what I did. I filed the complaint. They gave me the credit, which was cool, but still, um, we shouldn't be capped at 720p for video resolution. If the phone is sold to you to be able to do Quad HD, you should be able to do Quad HD 1080p. It's a horrible restriction. All right, I got to catch up in the chat. I've been ranting too long. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, Christian wants 12 gigs of RAM in a phone? Man, that's vicious. Um, how many people have desktops out there and laptops that have 12 gigs of RAM? Let alone we're talking smartphones. I think 6 is good for a flagship in today's date. I think 8's kind of like the high end. Anything with 8 obviously is top notch. 12 gigs, you're probably a few years off. But who knows? Maybe someday. Arcelia says, I want to move to T-Mobile. Don't want to buy a new phone. Um, well, aren't you kind of stuck in that lease with Sprint? I mean, unless you could pay off that phone with Sprint, and once you pay it off, you can call in customer service and they'll have to unlock it, and then you could take that phone to T-Mobile, no problem. Or I think T-Mobile still allows people to transfer, uh, and switch over from carriers, and I'm sure it would be a seamless thing to switch from Sprint to T-Mobile. The only issue is they're going to be paying off fees or whatever. It's going to be locking you in to get those credits back. So as long as you're ready to move to T-Mobile on a pretty permanent basis, you could do it. Ah, Pete did the hit and run, file and leave. Steve says, Sneed, will we be getting any more car ride videos? Been watching you for a while. Yeah, you've been riding with me for a while. That was one video. I remember I did that one. That was like last year in the summer. I think it was right after the Cavs won the finals because I think I was wearing like a Cavs finals t-shirt. And I think it was about the Sprint Magic Box. And that was at the time where the Magic Box was, starting to get a lot of steam. People were getting those Magic Boxes to help with the signal in their homes. And there was like some bad news. Apparently, the Sprint Magic Boxes weren't compatible with all cell sites. So depending on which cell towers you had, with relation to which bands that they had, you may not have had compatibility. So those were just some things I was hearing and some things I was reading. And actually, in the comment section of that video, you'll see like people that work at Sprint. They're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He has no idea. He's being a Debbie Downer. I have to call it like I see it. When I find stuff online that I read that has potential implications to the Magic Box, I'm going to report it. When people are telling me I'm receiving letters that the Magic Box may not be compatible at my address, I mean, if Sprint's sending letters to homes and they're sending emails, that's a legitimate concern. Why wouldn't I report that? Um, that was kind of weird. Like, I don't think people understood like what I was trying to do. I was just trying to inform people of that possibility. So that was one of the weirdest things I ever saw in my videos. But yeah, I do remember that video when I was driving. Had that thing mounted on my dashboard. It was pretty cool. Strawberry milk? What? Strawberry milkshake vape? Man, I don't know, Oscar, man. I mean, I drink a strawberry milkshake. I don't know about a vape. Celia, if it's an iPhone, it's compatible. The nice thing about Sprint phones is because Sprint phones have all the LTE radios in them, they work with all networks as long as they're unlocked. So you have to pay off the device. Once the device is paid off, you call customer service and you ask them to do an international and domestic unlock. Uh, the process might take a few hours or a couple days, but eventually it will unlock and you could take any SIM card, put it into the phone, and it will work. So Steve's got a Magic Box, works well at the house. So before you had it, what type of service were you getting? And now that you do have it, what's it doing for you? You know what yeah, the iPhone 5S. Actually, that the iPhone 5S was my favorite iPhone. I know a lot of people like the newer ones and stuff like that. I think the 5S was the best looking and the most, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it was the most capable device at its time. The 5S had the fingerprint scanner, right? It was like the first capacitive fingerprint scanner. It was effective and it worked. The camera was pretty good at the time. It was a single hand phone. It was nice. I mean, it was hard to text and stuff, but it was a good phone. Arcelia, if you pay off your phone, they cannot charge you to unlock it. All right, Christian. So, no, you're not dumb for asking. So the magic boxes are basically they're network extenders. So the problem is like some people have Sprint, right? And service in their home may be very spotty. Maybe they have like one bar of signal. Maybe they have 2 bars. Maybe they don't have LTE and they're only getting 3G or 2G or something, right? Their phone's not really getting any type of decent service. What you could do is Sprint can send you a magic box upon your request. They ship it to you. They don't charge you any fee. Doesn't cost you any money. You can do a self installation of the magic box. You put it by a window. You plug it in, and boom, you have a network extender. So it should be able to pull you a decent LTE signal. Now, for some people, they're reporting that their LTE speeds go from like 2 megabits per second to like 25 megabits per second, which is great because with 25 megabits per second, you could stream any video, you can watch anything you want. If you have mobile hotspot, that should be really good, right? It'll help you, tether to other devices. So, yeah, it's the Magic Boxes are good. Some people are reporting really great results with them. See, yeah, Steve says 1 megabit on band 25 to 30 on band 41. So, I mean, that's fantastic. That's a great improvement. So, Jay, did you ever have the Moto Razr, both the flip and the smartphone? Yes, I had both. The Moto Razr phones were legendary. Man, I love those phones. The flip probably sold better than the smartphone, but the smartphone was great. Actually, Moto's smartphones have always been super, super good. Like really powerful, excellent battery life, very capable. It sucks that most of the time they've been very Verizon exclusive. I think more people would have got their hands on them if they were offered by like T-Mobile and other carriers. But yeah, they're great phones. They're awesome. I always had Motos up until till now. I still have a Moto Z2 Play, and I've always loved Motorola's. I had the Moto Droid Turbo. I had the Moto Z Play. I have the Moto Z2 Play. I may upgrade to the next variation, 5G compatible Moto phone. I might do that. We'll have to see. Pete's got the Verizon Moto Razr Flip. What are you doing? Can you like charge it and turn it on? I mean, do those phones have E911? Can you activate them still? Oh no, you can't activate them. Verizon's not activating anything that isn't LTE. They're not activating any 3G phones anymore. And of course, they're decommissioning 3G, so yeah, they're not going to activate anything else. All right, so Mo says, "What do you guys think about the Palms?" He's talking about the first like original smartphones, those PDAs. Um, Man, I remember those things. I remember those phones, man. So, so Palm at the time was not running Android. In fact, I don't even think any of the original smartphones were running Android. They were all running things like Symbian and BlackBerry and Palm and all that. Like Android was not around as we know it today. So we're talking pre-Android. Apple wasn't making the iPhone yet. So like these phones they were all so different. The designs were different. The operating systems were different. The way that the stylus were used were different. It was a funny time with smartphones, and people didn't even have like data plans to use them, and like Wi-Fi wasn't really widespread. It was a strange, really awkward time for smartphones, actually. Oscar, so you've got a video. Oh, you make videos? Okay, I'll have to check you out. Definitely check you out. See, Pete, that's what I was thinking. If the FCC, like, yeah, like they're not going to want to see these types of older devices uh, on networks. Soul J, I'm 34. Yes, you are a psychic. Oscar, I remember the chocolate phone. I remember that was like a music phone. That was like the big thing. It was based on being like a music player. I remember that thing. I'll tell you what, Mo, the evolution of the smartphones, my favorite smartphones to this day were the Blackberries. I had the Blackberry Storm. I had the Blackberry. Was it the Tor or the Bold that had the trackpad? Not the ball. That was the curve. I forget which one it was. Yeah, I love the Blackberries. Because at the time, Blackberry was doing the best with the Blackberry Messenger and the email client. It was great. And of course, Blackberries are super secure, and they really didn't have any vulnerabilities. They were locked down really good. Not that many people were even really buying anything online at the time when Blackberries were big. Every once in a while, I see like BlackBerry comes out with a new phone, and they're not like the Blackberries that we knew, like with the keyboards and stuff like that. They're like the BlackBerry Priv. That one came out like 2 years ago. That one didn't have a keyboard. The new one, the Key 1 and Key 2, they've got keyboards. They're pretty nice. But they're selling these Blackberries for like $700 for these basic phones that don't even have 800 series processors, don't even have great cameras. They're asking premium dollars for, less than flagship level specs, and it's just not worth it. If a BlackBerry came in at like 499 and it was all specced out like 800 series Snapdragon chip, very very good camera, nice screen, stuff like that, I'd consider them, but not at $700 for a mid-ranger practically. Yeah, Steve, the Blackberries are running Android. They're also produced by a company, I think it's TCL, which they make pretty good hardware. I gotta say that I like the Key 1 and the Key 2. I like the design. It'd be kind of hard transitioning back from the digital keyboards to the actual like capacitive keyboards, but I think I would be fine. I mean, I used Blackberries for like 5 years. Like I said, I had the BlackBerry Storm. I had the Storm 2. I had I think it was the Tor and the Bold. I think I had those four. Yeah, I remember the data plans back in the day. The data plans were expensive. I can go back and remember when you paid per text message and you paid by the minute on phone calls. So man, I go back pretty far. Uh, Smartphone plans are actually kind of affordable when you think about it now. I remember when calling was like 50 cents a minute on mobile, like for a mobile phone. Kevin, I remember the LG Envy. I remember that thing. 4 years. Man, 4 years with any phone. That's some legendary stuff right there, Kevin. Do you still have that phone? Do you keep it like for nostalgia purposes? Yeah, Soul J, 10 cents a text. Yes, sir. I remember those days. I remember pricing per text. I remember having the first camera phone on Verizon. It was like a Moto T720 or something. It had a camera. It was like a VGA camera. Garbage quality. If you were 5 feet away from somebody and you took a picture of them and you sent it to somebody, they might not know who you took a picture of. Like, it was crazy. Uh, yeah, yeah. And back in the day, like, it would cost to send multimedia messaging. So, like, that was different than the cost for the text. So, yeah, I remember those days. All right, we're about 1 hour and 40 minutes, and we are on the official countdown. 20 minutes to go. We're gonna go until 9 o'clock, and we are at 8:40. So, anything that you guys want to get in, ask, comment, chat about, go ahead and get it in within the next 20 minutes. Kind of make sure that we squeeze it all in here. You know what, Soul J? I still hear ringback tones. There's one person, he's in one of my group texts. He's one of our teammates on our softball team. He has a ringback tone. It's like, I know he owns a business. He's an entrepreneur, and I'm sure he gets tons and tons of calls. He's got like that classical violin going on in there. I remember we used to use those all the time. I don't know if I didn't even know they still did them until like I tried to call him one time and it went to his ringback tone. I remember when you used to download apps to make ringtones. Uh, so I remember that. Christian says, remember the Windows Mobile of old, the T-Mobile Dash, and all of those phones, and the Shadow. I do remember the Windows Mobile. Actually, I remember when Windows was a good platform. They used to make good hardware. They used to get like great cameras, the Nokias of the days. I remember those. I actually used to like the tile setup to Windows Mobile. It's just a shame that the app support for Windows went to crap, and then Windows Mobile just died, and they just kind of gave up. I'd like to see them get back in it with a full-hearted effort, but I don't know. We may not ever actually see anything legitimate after Android and Apple, or Android and iOS, I should say. Soul J says the NSYNC ringback. I remember the NSYNC days, man. All that Justin Timberlake business back in the day. You know what, Kevin? I bet you could get a battery for that phone on eBay for like $1.50 or something shipped. Lena's still waiting for her food. What'd you order? Better be something good if you're waiting all this time. Yeah, see, Christian still got ringback tones. Got the violins going on. Oh my goodness, Steve. Steve just said the magic words. Motorola V60 from Altel. I kid you not. I probably rocked a V60. I probably had two or three in my day. I think I had the original generation, and then I also had like the second generation of it or the next version of it. I probably rocked them for like 3 years, and I also had Altel service. It was fantastic. Altel was a great company. I know they're still around regionally, but they were more widespread from market to market. I used to have them, and I had StarTechs with them, the Motorola StarTech. I had the V60. I had the T720. This is all before Verizon bought them out. Pete says he just got his Chinese. Uh, so when it comes to Chinese food, I gotta go with man, walnut shrimp. That is the best. Crab rangoon. Those are some good ones. And of course, you know, like orange chicken, you can't go wrong. General Tso's chicken, that's good stuff. Soul J, you're asking some weird questions, bro. Would you rather see an NSYNC or a Backstreet Boys concert? I guess I'd rather see a Backstreet Boys concert. I think they were bigger globally. I guess I'll go Backstreet. Steve, if you remember the V60, do you remember the way that the phone was always cold because it was so metallic? Like the back and the front and the display on the front. It was so nice, man. I love that thing. And actually, I swear, I think the first version of the V60 was the antenna didn't come out. And then like the next generation, it protruded like you could pull it out to get extended range or something crazy like that. Oh, Soul J, so your wife used to work for Altel. What market was that when she was working for Altel? Because I'm in the Cleveland area and I've been in Cleveland pretty much my whole life. We had Altel up until I don't know 2002, 2003, something like that. No, maybe later, maybe like 2005 actually. And actually, I remember Altel was really good with customer service. I remember their actual network service was good because they were going on the Verizon network. Um, their pricing was always excellent. Market-wise, they were always kind of like the affordable company. I mean, it was either them, AT&T, or Sprint. Like T-Mobile wasn't even around at the time. 2005. That sounds about right. I guess Alltel still exists as a company, but it's very spotty in certain markets, and they're more like rural coverage areas. I think they're still in Toledo. All right, 1:45, 15 minutes. Let's make this happen, y'all. She always used to hook me with 3 minutes on prepaid. Yeah, load you up on that time. You know, she had to keep her tabs on you. You know that. She had to call you. She was always going to keep your phone connected. uh, so that's the problem with having, you can never say, oh, you know, I ran out of minutes. That's why I didn't answer. I wasn't getting calls. My phone was disconnected. You couldn't say that because your wife always was getting you minutes. She was keeping you connected. I know, man. When you're married, you know all the little tricks, man. You know what they do. You know, you're trying to stay 2 steps ahead. Well, they're 3 ahead of you. You know. All right, so for this week, what we have for videos, we've got a T-Mobile and Sprint merger update that's going to be coming. We've got a Verizon video as it pertains to the Moto Z3 and the Moto mods that's going to make it 5G compatible. So we'll do a video on that. That's up and coming. I also have a 5G video on Patreon that's going to be coming up. So for those of you that haven't checked it out yet, check out Sneed Mobile Tech on Patreon. Consider supporting the Patreon page. You can get access to all the exclusive content and all the unique videos that you'll only find on that platform. So look forward to that. And I think I'm also going to do something specific to Sprint. There is some Sprint things going on the network side. I know that the voice over LTE rollout is going to be pretty much national very, very soon. I think it's slated for a September release. Some people are actually, I think they're getting access to it. There is some hardware sides to this. I think there's some phone incompatibility, so I do have to do a little research on it, but that's good to see. You know, I take for granted voice over LTE because I've had it for so long, but people on Sprint know the problem. They're like, if I'm on the phone, if I'm using the phone, and I'm trying to browse at the same time and look something up online, I can't do that because I don't have voice over LTE. So that's going to be a big thing for Sprint customers. They're going to be super happy once they get voice over LTE. The only issue I see is there was this problem with Verizon and AT&T when they first started deploying voice over LTE. They were having connectivity issues. The LTE network wasn't as established yet. So anytime LTE would be lost, like say you strayed away from a tower and you didn't have LTE and it switched over to 3G, calls were dropping. So I could see some growing pains for Sprint and the early onset of voice over LTE. So I'll probably do a video. I'll talk about some of those issues. We'll talk about the rollout of it and when it's going to be available. So yeah, those are kind of things that are up and coming. All right, time to check back into the chat. What do we got here? Soul J says, how long you been married? 3 wonderful years. Been married for 3 years and some change, actually. So anniversary is at the end of March. So we're about 3.5 in. Yeah, the Sprint's going to continue to improve its LTE. I think Sprint's doing a good job of improving its network. I think it was lacking in investment for so long that the amount of catching up they're doing is just really, really extensive. So while Verizon was expanding LTE and while AT&T was expanding its LTE and T-Mobile even recently expanding its LTE footprint, Sprint wasn't doing that. Sprint was struggling financially, so they couldn't dump the resources into expanding the LTE. They were busy dealing with the Radio Shack debacle, you know, all these other business decisions that were costing them billions of dollars. You got to keep in mind, Sprint is in the hole $32 billion. Could you imagine what they could have done with that $32 billion in capex to their network, they would have one of the most formidable networks in the nation. They'd be up there with AT&T and Verizon for sure. And actually, truth be told, Sprint has the most when it comes to spectrum assets and the potential with its network. T-Mobile's smart enough to see that, and that's why they wanted the merger so bad. All right, Mo says, why don't we stick to phones? Because we get bored with the ones we have. I don't know. Are you saying that the 2 year cycles is kind of like a bare minimum, or should we keep our phones longer than 2 years? I don't know. Most people get sick of their phone after 6 months. A year. I mean, 2 years is pushing it for a lot of people. They want to get in something new every time something new comes out. Oh wow, Soul J. So you've been with your lady forever. It's good to see. Landon, welcome, my friend. You're coming in. 10 minutes left in the live stream. Uh, but it's good to have you. At least we got these 10 minutes. So Landon, what's going on the Boricua side? Anything going on in Puerto Rico? Anything new network wise? Mo said, been with my lady for over 10 years. Yeah, and they say people don't last. Look at these couples doing great things, staying together. Oscar's saying, I want to rock with this. Is it Stilo or Stylo 4? That's the larger LG with the stylus, right? Those seem like pretty good phones. I know those aren't like expensive flagships, but they're pretty solid mid-rangers. I've seen them in the wild. Obviously, tons of people have those stylo phones. They're really, really good. Here they have good battery life too. It's basically like a more affordable version of the Note series. Now, obviously, I'm definitely stretching it. It doesn't have the camera performance. It doesn't have the RAM, but screen real estate with the stylus, it's probably a good phone. Nothing new on your side, huh? Yeah. So, from what I hear about Band 13, is that band going to be really important with the voice over LTE deployment? That's what I'm hearing. Hey, last of the old school, you're 29. You're a millennial officially. So saying you're old school, I mean, maybe just like you're saying old fashioned, you're old school. All right, guys, that's all that's left of the water. We've got about 7 minutes left, and the live stream is through. Once this water dries up, live stream finito. What about the P31? I don't know if anybody knows that quote right there, the P31. Ah, man. Wasn't that Blue Streak? That was Blue Streak with Martin Lawrence. What would you do with the P31? Gomez, is it? Oh, Landon wants to stay single, ready to mingle. Yeah, being single has its perks. I mean, but once you find what you've been looking for and you're happy, it's kind of being nice to get away from that single lifestyle. Settling in and stuff has its advantages for sure. Ah, okay. Wait, so does that mean coverage, Steve? Would that mean coverage nationwide for roaming? Hey, I want to ask Mo a question because I know Mo's got T-Mobile. What would it cost to add a line to your account on the T-Mobile side? So I think you've got I don't know which plan you got, T-Mobile One or whatever you got. What would it cost to add another line to your account? Hey, Oscar, thank you for stopping in. Thank you for participating. Appreciate it, man. Have a good weekend. Take care. Soul J says, I've been bringing up the LG chocolate at every live stream. Wasn't that the first touchscreen? It may have been the first touchscreen for Verizon and Alltel, but I don't think it was the first touchscreen for T-Mobile and AT&T. Wow, 20 by 20, that's going to be really, really fast. That's tons of capacity. Uh, let's see here. Hey Pete, you're gonna add me a line for 30 bucks, man? I could use an extra line. Put it in my other device. Yeah, only the bottom were touch. I remember that. There was a capacitive part to that phone, the LG Chocolate, wasn't there? Like part of it was capacitive and the other one was like touch sensitive. It had like the little highlighted areas they would kind of light up. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. You know what, Landon? We just talked about flip phones and how awesome they were. I mentioned the StarTAC. I mentioned, I don't know if I talked about the Talkabout or the Time Port. The V60 was awesome. That little phone was so good. I remember that phone. Um, no, no, Pete. I'm not former military. No. Um, but I am a school teacher. Feels like boot camp sometimes. Got to keep kids in the line. All right, guys. 3 minutes and counting. Wait a minute. The V30, that's an LG smartphone. That's like the phone that came out last year. The Motorola V60 is the flip phone with the funny green screen, right, with the short stubby antenna with the metal back that had the battery and stuff in there. Oh, Daniel just popped in. Yeah, unfortunately that T-Mobile One Plus national plan that got you the unlimited LTE hotspot and the roaming and all that stuff, the international roaming and the that $25 add-on that's ended, which is kind of sad. That was a great little perk, a great feature. Mo's talking about pagers now. Really, Mo? You want to talk about pagers? Talk about voicemail and you used to have to dial the 1-800 number to call from the payphone? You know, Mo was the one that was cut in class to go check his voicemail. Be like, tell his teacher, yo, I gotta go use the bathroom. So he pretend like he was going to the bathroom. He'd go straight to the phone, dial the 1-800 number. Look at this. He put the 1-800 number. That's a damn shame you remember that number. After all these years, you remember that useless piece of information. You know, I'm going to look into that boost situation as well. Kind of interested on that to see what happened with Target. What type of contract maybe ended. I don't know. Man, I remember Samsung had some really cool phones. Um, but Samsung didn't really get big until they hit it big with like the S series, like the S3, S4, and I actually think it was the S4 that was huge, and the S5 too. They sold huge, big numbers. That put Samsung on the map, and it had them competing directly with Apple. And of course, the iPhones are kind of the golden standard for smartphone sales. You guys do know that Apple hit $1 trillion in value? That is a crazy, absurd number. They are such a wealthy company. Getting that money, getting that guap, hand over fist. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. We're in our final minute. Anything else that needs to get out? All right, so what I think we'll do is we'll go ahead and wrap up this live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for participating. I'm glad to see that participation with the chat was really engaging. We had a lot of great things to talk about. Up and coming, we've got some videos this week on the YouTube side. A little bit from Verizon. Things are a little quiet with AT&T because of the acquisition of Time Warner. We'll see if anything happens with that. The T-Mobile and Sprint merger has some news. I'll probably make a video on that to cover all the topics and the developments from that. I think I do have a Sprint video specific to Sprint and their voice over LTE, so that's up and coming. Check out the Patreon page as well for those of you that haven't. For my patrons, you know what the deal is. There's a lot going on there. I'll probably do a 5G video, a hardware side, and then a network side. So that's up and coming. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. So this week was really busy for me. I wasn't around much. Next week should be a little bit better. We'll see how it goes. But I am going back to work. School starts not next week, but the following week. But I am going back to work. So my schedule is going to become very, very predictable, and it's going to be very, very stable. So hopefully the live stream will be back up and running at the correct time. I think I'll probably stay with evenings at some point, but we'll definitely have to see where it goes from there. And I think I'm going to do a live stream either somewhere in the middle of the week on Patreon, or maybe like a Sunday evening or something like that. So I put up a poll on the Patreon page, so check that out if you guys are patrons. Check out the Patreon page if you haven't done so already. That's it. I'm done. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching the live stream. You guys are the best part of the channel. Thank you as always. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.